My name is Jackie Syme. I am a member of the Optimus and the Toastmaster clubs. Optimus International has a yearly oratorical contest. This is our second contest, and I am so proud of the students we have in our local area. The speakers here are the 7 winners from our local speech contest held at the Chippewa Intermediate School. That contest was hosted by Andy Pocodello. Please welcome our young people.
Hi, my name is Laura Phillips. I'm in Chippewa School and I'm in the 6th grade. I took 4th place in the Oratorical contest. If I could see tomorrow. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where 6th graders and 8th graders could sit together at a table and talk as one. I know from my own experience that this usually doesn't happen. If I could see tomorrow when younger kids were picked on, they would stand up for themselves saying, "Hey, I may be younger than you, but I'm just as important and I have a place here too." If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where war doesn't exist, where peace between nations comes naturally. Why, just last year at this time, we were at war with the Middle East. Why can't people keep things professional? Why did they have to take force? With so many casualties, is it worth it? If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where all continents are in unity, because some places are so very close to us, yet they seem so very far away. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where government wouldn't be needed, because there would be no need for Democrats or politicians. It takes a whole year for the presidential campaigns to be completed. All of that wasted time could be used cleaning up Earth. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where everything was clean and pollution wouldn't exist, where our ozone layer would no longer have a risk of disintegrating, and people have long since stopped treating Earth like a giant garbage disposal. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where everyone was friends and no one ever disputed. Well, just the other day, my best friend and I were arguing over something, and I stopped to think, gee, I want everybody else to stop fighting, but here I stand fighting over a stupid thing. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where you could trust everyone, where you could talk to strangers and not have a doubt in your mind that you're safe. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where everyone was well educated, where everyone left school anxious for a job. A few unfortunate members of my family dropped out of school at a young age. Now they are roughing it to make money through a business they started. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where everyone was loved and you would love your neighbor as yourself. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where no one was homeless and no one ever went hungry. Did you know that on average, for every second that goes by, 500 people die someplace in the world, and many of them are from filth and starvation? If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where men and women were finally treated equally. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where drugs would no longer be a problem because no one would do, sell, or trade them. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where cancer wouldn't exist. Just a few weeks ago, my grandfather passed away of cancer. It started small and then spread through his entire body. If I could see tomorrow, this would never happen. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where heart attacks and strokes wouldn't be a problem. It is said to be that 1/3 of all deaths are caused by cardiovascular problems. If I could see tomorrow, this wouldn't happen either. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where marriage vows would be kept and children would no longer suffer from separated families. I know from experience. My parents have been divorced since I was 8 months old. If I could see tomorrow, I would want to see a world where there was peace for everyone and everyone was friendly and loving. Imagine, if you will, a perfect world, a world with no problems, a world without pollution, war, racism, fights, or anything that is or causes problems, a world with nothing but friendship, joy, love, and cleanness, where you'd see children happily playing and everyone was well educated. Now I ask you, if you had the opportunity to see tomorrow, what would you want to see?
Okay, my name is Aiden Green. I go to Chippewa School and I'm in 7th grade. If I could see tomorrow, I would see a world with no homeless people. Did you know that every 4 seconds a child in America will drop out of school? Did you know that every 6 seconds a child in America will run away from home? And did you know that every 37 seconds another teenage girl will have a baby? There is a teenage girl on the streets. Her name is Janice. Janice is 14. She is a prostitute. She has no home. She is 4 months pregnant. But Janice got help and is now trying to live at home and finish school. She is only one out of millions of homeless people in this country alone, and not all homeless people are quite as lucky as she was. For example, 55% of teenagers living in single-parent households live at poverty level. The number of teen suicides has doubled since 1970. The school dropout rate is as high as 60% in many major U.S. cities. The number of 15-year-old girls who are sexually active has doubled since 1990. Also, 10% of girls ages 15 to 19 get pregnant every year, and 60% of all high school seniors say they have drunk alcohol in the past 30 days. Statistics like these make many people lose hope. Most homeless have little food, probably no money, and worst of all, these people have to sleep on the streets wherever they can find a place. There isn't any human being who should have to go without food and shelter. If you look on the streets of the city, you can see homeless people rummaging through garbage cans to find food. These people need to be taken care of, but who is going to take care of them? You probably think of poor people when you think of the homeless, but this is not always true. At one time, a homeless person may have been a wealthy person that lost all of their money instantly, leaving them homeless. The homeless cannot be ignored and expected to go away. We as a nation have to deal with the homeless people as soon as possible, because if we don't, the numbers of homeless people will rapidly grow. If I could see tomorrow, I would see a world where everyone had a home and there was nobody on the streets.
Hi, my name is Melissa Muntz. I am in 6th grade and I go to Chippewa School. If I could see tomorrow. If I could see tomorrow, I would see a world free from the pain and agony caused by sexual abuse. Summer is my favorite time of the year because I enjoy taking long walks to the beach where I can be by myself and think. Sometimes the water is rough and angry, and other times it's peaceful and quiet. I guess in a way, I can relate to the water. It's hard sometimes to share your feelings and fears with your friends, let alone an adult. So for almost a year, I kept a secret to myself. I know I've always been told to tell someone if it ever happened to me, but who would believe me? Who would understand? One sunny afternoon, as I sat upon a huge rock, the most beautiful bird I have ever seen approached me. It was white and pure, and represented something that I no longer felt. "Why are you sad?" asked the little bird. "I can't tell," I replied. "My brother told me that if I ever told anyone, I would be taken away from my family forever." The little bird looked up at me with such compassion and wonder, and I continued. "It all started about a year ago, when my parents were away working and my brother was left home alone to babysit. He would bring me candy and trinkets and make me lie down beside him in front of the TV. Before long, I was very mixed up and confused. Why would he do this to me? I just didn't understand. I told him I did not like him touching me there, but he just looked at me and said, 'This is your fault, and besides, you like it anyway.' Sometimes I'm afraid of my brother. He's big and mean and bossy, and maybe he would really hurt me." I glanced down at the little bird, and there were tears rolling down his pearly white feathers. "You must tell. This is not your fault. You may have done some wrong things before, but you did not do anything to cause this abuse. You have been violated and hurt, and your brother needs to be stopped." I too cried big giant tears. Would Mom or Dad believe me? Or would I really be sent away? The little bird flapped his wings, and I watched as he flew away. As I slowly walked along the beach, I glanced down at my footprints in the sand. The water washed my footprints away. Could my pain and suffering ever be washed clean? I then realized I must tell. I wanted to be free for the bondage that I had felt for so long. I went home that very day and told my parents what had happened. It was as if a ton of bricks had been lifted from me. They cried and assured me that it would never happen again. Sadly enough, studies show that 1 out of every 4 women and 1 out of every 10 men were abused physically or sexually during childhood. A child abuser is usually someone closely associated with the child, such as a parent, grandparent, or sibling, and the cycle of abuse continues. If only the abuser could find the help that they needed. If only they could realize the pain and suffering that the victim would endure for months or maybe even years. Wounds will heal, but scars are forever. Yes, child abusers do need help, but it is the victim that will carry with them sometimes a lifetime of worthlessness, anger, and mistrust. Without help and healing, the victim may be scarred emotionally for life. It takes much courage to deal with sexual abuse, but only by dealing with this abuse can one be set free.
Hi, my name is Matt Richmond. I'm 13 years old and I'm in 7th grade at Chippewa Intermediate School. If I could see tomorrow, there'd be no pollution. There'd be non-polluting cars, people recycling cans and bottles, and hardly any trash anywhere, just scraps of food left over. And even that could be recycled by spreading it all over a garden and turned into fertilizer. There'd be non-polluting cars and non-polluting factories and always clean air to breathe. And when you can go to the park without any trash or litter being on the ground. And when you go fishing anywhere you want without the waters being polluted. But if I could see tomorrow, I probably could see pollution, litter, trash everywhere. Unless we clean up and recycle, our planet Earth could become a great big giant landfill. Did you know all the trash in the United States adds up to 250 million tons a year? That's more than 1 ton for every person. And that's enough to fill a line of trucks circling the Earth nearly 1.5 times. We throw away about 71 billion cans a year, containers that held pet food, soup, coffee, soft drinks, beer, and vegetables and fruits, and 38 billion bottles and jars that held soft drinks, pickles, ketchup, beer, mustard, cooking oil, baby food, and peanut butter. We throw away 4 million tons of plastic bleach bottles, shampoo bottles, cider bottles, see-through wrapping, meat trays, egg carton toys, and pocketbooks. About 1/10 of what we throw away is food waste. Another 1/10 is garden waste. Leaves, grass cuttings, plant trimmings, all these can be used as fertilizer. And about 5% of our waste is buried. It is hauled into a kind of dump called a sanitary landfill. All of this can be recycled or reused. For what I like to see is no pollution. But that's our choice, to clean up and recycle. Well, most of this waste comes from our home, and most of the air pollution probably comes from the factories and cars. Lawmakers, engineers, and scientists all work together to stop air pollution. You can help stop any kind of pollution. You can start putting litter and trash in recycling bins and bury leaves instead of burning them. This causes air pollution. Some people think there's lots and lots of air, but this is not true. There's just one layer of air around the Earth, just as there is if there was frosting on a birthday cake. We need air. Without it, we can't live. All of this I've been talking about can be corrected. Only you can help with my future be what I want it to be.
My name is Christy Shelley, and I'm in the 8th grade. I'm from Fort Gratiot Intermediate School, and I took 2nd place in the Oratorical contest with the Optimist Club. If I could see tomorrow, what is freedom? Are all men and women born free? Do you take your freedom for granted? Are you losing your ethical values? This is election year. Are you going to practice your right to vote? Freedom consists of many things. There's freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion and freedom to vote, economic freedom, and freedom of individual expression. We have so many freedoms, and they're all taken for granted daily. Can you imagine being silenced for voicing your own opinion? Can you imagine that? Just voicing your own opinion, you could be silenced for that in some countries. Can you imagine that? Every day when you read the newspaper, Do you think of freedom of the press? If it weren't for freedom of the press, you would have no paper to read. You would read only what your dictator tells you to read. I may not agree with my neighbor's opinion, but I respect it, and I hope that my neighbor respects my opinion too. Here's a quote from a Mrs. Nakakis living in Iraq. My sons were on their tractors. They came running to the house and said, "Run and hide. Iraqi army helicopters are coming." That was the last time I saw them. Unquote. Can you imagine waking up every day not knowing whether that would be your last day alive? Can you imagine living in fear in your own house? Every day a helicopter or a plane flew ahead. Can you imagine being scared every time that happened? I read a story in the paper recently about a 16-year-old boy who lived in Iraq. He lived with his family in a small village. One day, Iraqi army came with Saddam Hussein and they raided his whole village. They were taken away, just taken one day from his home. They were loaded on buses, and when they reached their destination, their father was taken from them. Every father of that whole village was taken away, never to be seen again. Can you imagine that? Then this boy, he was loaded on one of 30 bus loads of women and children. 30 bus loads. Can you imagine being loaded on to one of 30 bus loads of women and children after you have lost your father and you don't know where you're headed or what destiny might bring? That's what this boy was feeling. When they reached their destination, he realized it was a camp, a prisoner's camp called Camp Topsawa. There, they were dumped into trenches. These 30 busloads of women and children dumped into trenches, just dumped there. Can you imagine that? Then this boy, he had to wait until dusk with everyone else. At dusk, the shooting began. 2 hours of shooting. 2 hours! Dodging bullets for 2 hours just to survive. That's what this boy had to do. He finally lay among the lifeless bodies of all the villagers. And that's how he escaped, laying there until the soldiers were gone. Then when they were off guard, he escaped. This boy, he suffered a shoulder wound. He was lucky. He's now living with his uncle in Summit. Fortunately, we don't live under such a harsh dictator as Saddam Hussein. We live in a democratic republic. What is freedom? Freedom is the condition of being able to act or not to act, to speak or not to speak according to your own beliefs. That is freedom. Are all men and women born free? No, they're not. Freedom is earned. It's not handed to us. I did not have to fight for my freedom, but I'm proud and thankful to those who did. This is election year. Are you going to vote? Are you going to practice your right to choose the leader of your country? Or are you going to sit there and take your freedom for granted? Do you take your freedom for granted? Living in the United States as an American citizen, we have duties. We must obey the law, pay taxes, serve on a jury if you're called upon, and attend school. Do you take your freedom for granted? If I could see tomorrow, I would see the whole world as a democracy.
Hi, I'm John Hoffman, and I'm in 8th grade from Chippewa School. If I could see tomorrow. If I could see tomorrow, I would like to see it through the eyes of the world. We all look at the world in different ways and what the future holds for it as our home. I would hope that we can take a look at it through the world's eyes and bring a better life to our homes on Earth. As the Earth, I would see all the animals that are now on the endangered list coming back to their habitat for people to enjoy. I would like to see the elephants once again filling the countries of Africa. The whales could swim freely in my oceans, and the people of my world could eat fish without worrying of pollution. The spotted owl could perch in the trees of my forest. My future streams would be crystal clear and pure enough to drink from. The sounds of the once endangered wildlife would fill the forest with peaceful sounds. My rainforest would increase in size, not to be cut down by those who are trying to make money and destroy the plants and wildlife that now live there. Explorers could still look at my forest as a place that's wonderful and filled with enchantment. Wetlands would be even more protected. In the future, my ducks, alligators, and all wildlife could flourish there. My atmosphere would be as clean as in the days of the pioneers. At night, stars would shine brightly in the clear skies. The ozone layer would return, not to be threatened again. Acid rain would be something the children of my world would have to learn about in their history books. Nuclear power would no longer be used. The people of my world would use the sun's power. Solar energy would be the most used method along with hydropower. People would use my rivers and streams to run their houses. No longer would my land be in danger of nuclear accidents. My world of tomorrow would recycle many items that are not recycled today. Dump sites would not be turned into things we don't know about or don't want to know about. Pollution by salting roads in the wintertime, oil spills, and things like harmful fertilizers would no longer exist. The people of tomorrow would learn to clear roads without using salt, transport chemicals safely, and grow food without using unsafe chemicals. To have our tomorrow come true, we have to begin with today. We need to learn to work together throughout the world, learn to conserve what we use, dispose our trash in a safe way, give up some conveniences, and begin to make this world a better place. We learn from our past, and our past begins today.
My name is Amanda Burkhart. I go to Port Huron High School. I took first place. If I could see tomorrow. If I could see tomorrow, what would tomorrow be? I think if you asked 10 different people that question, you'd get 10 different answers, because we're all unique. If I could see tomorrow, I would see world peace, a clean environment, and everyone with a home. Do you know what it's like to be homeless? Every year, 300,000 people get to find out what it's like. Not to have adequate clothing, or a place to stay, or not even to know where their next meal will come from. And in the cold weather, early here in Michigan, having to worry if you'll be warm enough that night, sleeping in doorways out of bitter January wind, or near a vent where warm air might blow. And what about the children? 26% of America's homeless are mothers with small children. What these little ones must endure, no one should have to go through. You probably think that I don't know anything about the homeless, but that's just not true. Let me tell you about a man I see every day. His name is Barry. Barry is at the doors of Port Huron High School every day collecting cans from students returning from lunch. Barry isn't a drug dealer or an alcoholic. He's just a man who needs money so badly that he collects tin cans that are worth 10 cents. We've all seen him there, in the rain and in the snow, with a smile and a hello for everyone. Barry is friendly. I'm sure you just assumed he had a home. I know I did until recently. But I was downtown in Port Huron, Michigan, and there was Barry sleeping on a park bench. To me, that's when the homeless stopped being a number and started becoming people. There are thousands and thousands of Barrys on the street in the U.S. every day. Most of them aren't alcoholics or drug dealers. They're just people who have hit some hard times. Some of them lost their jobs, were unable to find other work. Others were forced to move out of older apartments that were being exchanged for modern high-rises. Whatever the reason, they're no different from you or from me. They're mothers and veterans and factory workers. Homelessness is the new war in the United States today. This problem is not going to disappear just by pretending these people are invisible. How many more times can you cross the street to avoid them? How many more times can you look the other way? Every time you do, a child will go longer without a home. Many just shake their heads and say, "Isn't that too bad?" But then they go home to a warm house, a hot meal, a feeling of security. The homeless have nowhere to go. But by declaring a national emergency right now, this problem can be solved. But one group cannot do it alone. It must be all the races, all the charities, and all the congregations. Because homelessness doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter what color you are, and it doesn't matter what church you go to. But this can be taken care of. Street by street, city by city, this can be beaten. Right now, empty hotel rooms and abandoned houses sit unused, needing only minor repairs. They could be sheltering a family that don't have a home of their own. No, this problem cannot be ignored. But yes, it can be solved. With some compassion, some hard work, and a little teamwork, in my tomorrow, everyone will have a home.